New data suggests a retirement crisis is quickly approaching, but strangely, no one's talking about it. So in this video, I'm breaking down why we could be approaching a retirement crisis and how you can position yourself to avoid it. As a retirement planner and the owner of a financial planning firm, I get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of what people are facing when it comes to retirement. And in March of 2024, CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, announced that the world is facing a looming retirement crisis. And only 3 months later, Prudential published a survey that revealed that 55-year-olds are critically underprepared for retirement. Now, despite these worrying statements, hardly anyone's breaking down why retirees are at risk from this potential retirement crisis over the next 10 years. Now, the first problem facing retirees is significantly low savings. Prudential's survey revealed that 2/3 of 55-year-olds fear that they're going to run out of money in retirement, and this is actually supported by the fact that the median retirement savings for 55-year-old Americans is less than $50,000. And separately from that study, the National Institute on Retirement Security conducted a survey that revealed 79% of Americans agree that there is indeed a retirement crisis, up from 67% in 2020. And that same survey goes on to address Social Security concerns, where 87% of Americans agree that Congress should act now to shore up funding rather than waiting another 10 years to enact any solutions. And these concerns around Social Security are on top of everyone's mind because the board of directors for Social Security recently published an annual report where they identified that Social Security's trust fund reserves could be completely depleted by as early as 2035 if no changes are made. And unfortunately, the lack of retirement savings and this looming crisis around Social Security funding are compounded by the fact that rising costs of living have hit Americans recently. All Americans have felt the effects of inflation over the last 4 years, with the average inflation rate in 2021 being 4.7%. It was 8% in 2022 and 4.1% in 2023. And Prudential's survey showed that 1/3 of 55-year-olds and 43% of 65-year-olds have postponed retirement due to inflation and higher living costs. Now, these rising costs don't seem to be going away anytime soon, which leads to every retiree's greatest fear, which is running out of money. But one particular cost that retirees seem to have attention on right now is the cost of long-term care. The National Institute on Retirement Security survey showed that 87% of people are generally concerned about rising costs, while 80% are worried about the rising costs of long-term nursing care. But one of the biggest factors in this lack of retirement savings amongst 55-year-olds is the fact that Generation X is going to be the first generation to retire mostly without a defined benefit plan or a pension. Gen X is the group of workers that entered the workforce after employers shifted away from these defined benefit plans they had before. And as these defined contribution plans, such as the 401k, replaced their predecessors, many workers were skeptical and they just didn't fully understand what it meant to save for your retirement, because until that point in their lives, they believed that their retirement will be taken care of by their employer because that's what they saw and heard from their parents and the generations before them. But now saving for retirement became each individual person's responsibility. And this shift in how retirement would be funded in the future seems to have caught many people off guard, and they're now trying to catch up. So let's look at an example to see how big of a problem this is and what someone who is 55 would have to save to be ready for retirement at 65. So here we have a typical 55-year-old in 2024, and let's call him John. John's got $50,000 saved for retirement and makes $5,500 per month, which is $65,000 a year. We also have a typical 65-year-old in 2024, and let's call her Sarah. Sarah has about $272,000 saved for retirement, which is the average for 65-year-olds here in 2024. So for John to make up this gap over the next 10 years, he would need to save around $750 per month if he gets an annualized return of 10%. If he only gets a return of 9% annually, he would need to save $850 per month. With an 8% return, he would need to save $950 per month. And with a 7% return, he would need to save about $1,100 per month. And at first glance, this might seem unattainable because John would have to save upwards of 25% of his take-home pay every month to meet these savings goals. But there are a few things that I'd like to point out. First, in order to save every single month, he's going to have to spend less every single month. So he needs to evaluate what his spending is on right now, and is that a mortgage or is that a car payment, or maybe he doesn't even have any debt but is spending money on things that are fun for him every month. The first thing he's got to do is he's got to be able to save more and increase how much his free cash flow is, and then start denying himself of some of the luxuries he's probably gotten used to. But if he wants to retire bad enough, he's got some hard choices he's going to have to make. And the second factor is his investment returns. Over 30-year time frames, the average return for the stock market is about 10 or 11%. This doesn't mean that he's going to get a 10% annualized return every year that he invests in the stock market, but it does mean that his odds of getting the returns he needs are greater whenever he invests in stocks. So in order to make up his current savings deficit over the next 10 years, John would have to maintain a more aggressive investment allocation rather than getting more conservative as he ages. And in my opinion, this goal is completely doable for John, but he's going to have to make some hard choices to get there. He likely won't have enough money for discretionary spending every single month because everything will have to be saved for retirement. And if he does have any consumer debt, such as car payments or credit cards, he likely needs to pay those off as soon as he can to free up enough cash flow to begin saving adequately. It's not going to be easy, but it is doable. But this example only gets John to the average savings for 65-year-olds in 2024. If John wants to save how much he needs to have saved to retire at 65, he will have to do a bunch more work. Fidelity suggests having anywhere from 8 to 10 times your salary saved for retirement at 65, and in John's case, this would mean he would need to have about $520,000 saved to have 8 times his current salary of $65,000. If he were to set out to reach this goal of $520,000 by 65, he would have to save about $1,900 per month if he gets a 10% annualized return, $2,100 a month if he was to get a 9% return, $2,300 a month if he was getting an 8% return, and then $2,500 a month if he was getting a 7% return. This seems like it might be a stretch given his current gross income of $5,500 per month. And I'm not saying that it's not possible, because it absolutely is, but it really depends on his other debts and his other spending every single month. So what if John's not able to save enough to retire by 65? Well, he's got a few options. And the first one is he might have to keep working, which is unfortunate, but it does a couple things for him. It reduces the number of years he's going to have to draw from his portfolio from an income standpoint. It allows him to save more money into his portfolio as he keeps working, and it allows his investments to remain invested longer, and that leads to more compounding. Additionally, by continuing to work, he's going to delay his Social Security benefits, which will increase his future benefits when he does start receiving them, and then that will also reduce how much he's actually having to pull from his portfolio in retirement. So the takeaway here is that John has the potential to retire one day, whether it be 65 or later, but it will take a lot of discipline and hard work to make that happen. Now, something that's not often talked about here is the mental and the emotional strain that this can put on people, because 55-year-olds are seeing the upcoming retirement crisis, and it's leading to more anxiety and more mental struggles around money. But we already know that money is a leading cause of issues within a marriage or a relationship. But then you throw on a lack of savings on top of that and high inflation rates, and that leads to 55-year-olds facing more significant emotional and mental challenges, particularly if they are financially insecure. Now, Prudential's survey indicates that 55-year-olds who lack financial security are significantly more likely to struggle with mental health than those who are financially secure, and 45% of 55-year-olds find it difficult to maintain relationships as they age, most likely due to some of these different financial concerns that they have. So managing your mental health around your finances is becoming something of greater importance. And 3 different things that I would suggest or encourage you with on this would be to have a plan, and then also get help from a trusted advisor. And then the third thing is to keep a long-term mindset. Now, the important part of having a plan is getting that plan created or in place before the crisis hits. So if you're just retired and your portfolio goes down 30%, having a plan before that downturn will give you more peace of mind rather than having to have no plan and have to figure it out in the moment. As Benjamin Franklin famously said, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And having a plan in place that allows you to retire or make sure you never run out of money in retirement will ease your anxiety and then also help you sleep at night. The second step is getting help from a trusted advisor. This is often overlooked because it requires effort and costs money, and everyone thinks they can handle it on their own. But when things get hard or worry begins to creep in, a trusted advisor becomes invaluable. Dave Ramsey continuously says that personal finance is 20% head knowledge and 80% behavior, and I agree with him. It's not really how much you know, it's really only about what you do with what you know. And we all know that we should eat healthy, exercise, limit how much we stare at our phones, but how many of us actually do those things? Yes, a financial advisor has to have the knowledge to guide you in the right direction, but what you need more than that is you need someone who's going to help you do what you truly need to do. And finally, you need to keep a long-term mindset. Far too often we get caught in the here and the now and the I'll never have enough money to retire, or I'll never be able to save enough money to retire, or I can't take this volatility anymore. These are the thoughts that people just like you are having every single day, and it can be overwhelming. But in every one of these situations, the future is often ignored. It feels like you have to catch up on your savings all in one day or even one year, but the reality is it will take take time and discipline to reach your future goal, so start small. Begin stacking small wins every single day and every single month, and ignore the results as you go, and you'll be shocked by the relief that you're going to feel along the way. So focus less on the results and more on the process, and by doing what you set out to do every month, and you'll become more encouraged as you go to continue doing what you've set out to do. With the retirement issues facing 55-year-olds ranging from not having enough money saved, rising inflation, or changing benefit systems, and mental health struggles, what can you do to overcome these different retirement risks? Well, the first thing that you can do is reduce your spending and reduce your debt, eliminate all unnecessary debt outside of your mortgage. And so what this does is frees up more cash flow for you to start saving and investing into your different accounts. By increasing your positive cash flow, you're going to get a better feeling or a better sense of your overall financial situation, but you're also going to be able to accomplish these other goals to help you get to that point of retirement and being able to say, yes, I can do this. The second thing that you can do is increase how much you're saving every single month out of your paycheck. Now, you might be able to save this to a 401k that your employer provides for you, or 403b, but you can also use Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs as well. I would recommend probably saving 20% or more of your paycheck every single month, because if you're behind the 8 ball and you're struggling to catch up and struggling to get to that point of being able to retire, you have to make the most of these 10 years leading up to your retirement, and the only way to catch up is by saving more and investing it better. To piggyback on the second point, be sure to contribute at least up to how much your employer is matching for you. So if you need to contribute 3% to get 3% match, then please do that, because that's going to be a total of 6% of your income that you're saving, and you didn't have to do anything extra for that additional 3%. And the final thing that you can do is invest with intention. If you're thinking that you're going to get to retirement one day by investing in CDs and bonds and cash or money markets because they're paying a 5% plus rate, then you're not going to get there. What you have to do is you have to focus on intentionally investing in things that will grow more than that, which is likely going to be a diversified portfolio of stocks. So you have to think about what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish and invest accordingly. You can't get where you're trying to go if you're already behind by investing in a conservative manner. So you have to think about what is best for you in the long term and what you're trying to accomplish, rather than what makes you feel good right now today. So now that you've heard some of the biggest concerns that are facing future retirees, you can start laying out the groundwork to avoid this retirement crisis yourself. However, it could be challenging to know where to start or if you're doing the right thing. So if you'd like to book a completely free consultation with me and learn more about how I might be able to help you on your path to a successful retirement, click the first link down in the description below. Thanks for watching.